So now I'm going to walk you through a little bit of exploration with virtual instruments inside of Ableton as opposed to the Reaper workflow, just to show you the kind of similarities and how everything works. I'm just starting out with a blank project here. This is Ableton. As you can see, there's 2 MIDI tracks and 2 audio tracks on the top. All I'm going to do is just show you how to insert virtual instruments inside of Ableton. So it's a little different than it is in Reaper. Basically, instead of having like a window to pop up in front of you with lists and lists of plugins that are available, it looks a little bit more inviting in here. They break it down into different sections. So there's instruments, there's audio effects, MIDI effects. Now these are all built in to Ableton, which is something that's actually beneficial over Reaper because Reaper doesn't really have any built-in instruments. In fact, it doesn't have any at all. As far as audio effects are concerned, there are built-in effects inside of Reaper. Some of them are mediocre, some of them work really well, but their interfaces are horrible and you don't want to look at them. So generally what I do is I use third-party plugins from companies like Isotope or Native Instruments or FabFilter or just a bunch of different companies and just kind of pick and choose which ones I like the best. But it's actually really nice to have these kind of modules inside of Ableton just so you can drag them into your project and get going and don't have to worry about loading up or activating a third-party plugin. There is some benefit there, but what we're going to do today is we're going to go straight down to the plugins because we're talking about virtual instruments here. So I'm going to go to plugins. I'm going to go in here and I'm going to say, okay, what we used in the other project was Arturia. So I'm going to expand Arturia here and it shows you all of the different plugins. These are all synthesizers for the most part. I guess there's some compressors in here and effects and reverb and things like that. Today I'm going to grab the DX7V, which is actually an emulation of a really cool synthesizer from the 80s called the DX7. It was kind of reviled at the time, but it was like a kind of a revolution in sound as far as stability and consistency and being able to recall presets. It was just notoriously difficult to program. So even though the sounds that came out of these things were everything you heard in Phil Collins, in Madonna, in Michael Jackson's, like all these different synthesizers that you heard in popular music were the DX7 for the most part. It's like the definitive synth of the 80s, hate it or not, it was omnipresent. It's a great synth, especially this version that's in software because it's so easy to program. It's not difficult at all. It may look intimidating at first, but it's beautiful. So I'm just gonna drag and drop it in here. All right, so this is the DX7. Look at this thing. I mean, that screams like, that's like Stevie Wonder, or you know, that's straight up 80s. And they actually have all the original, this is ROM 1A, and these are from the original. So this is actually what's called FM synthesis or frequency modulation. I'm not going to go too into the technical details, but it's just a different kind of technology than the original analog synthesizers that were used through the early 80s from companies like Roland or Sequential Circuits or Oberheim or any of the other companies that made analog synths. Moog. This is a Yamaha synthesizer, who the same people that made the CS80, but they also made this incredible instrument, the DX7. But this is pretty much what it looked like minus the screen from the original version. Now it's so much easier because you can expand this up here and then there's a whole world of possibilities you can play with. We're gonna keep it minimized for now. I'm just gonna kind of use the built-in stuff. Here's a cool, I mean, I see like Boy George or something right there if I'm listening to that. But anyway, I'm going to go ahead and record some sounds in here and you can see what this is all about. 120 BPM is good. I'm going to hit record, this little record up here in the session view. Alright, I was just bobbing my head while the beats were going by, but we should have had a metronome enabled while we were recording. It's probably kind of on beat, but it might not be perfect. Let's play it back and find out. Let's see how good I did. Not so good. All right, I'm gonna put that metronome back on. If you go in the upper left-hand corner, you see these little circles. That is the metronome. So I'm gonna hit the little circle here in the clip for DX7. See how it says DX7V? It was auto-filled when I loaded that instrument. Try it one more time. All right, that was pretty good. So we're gonna play it back and listen to it. I mean, it's not perfect, but it's better than it was before because I use the metronome. And also it's a little bit off, so it's kind of has a more human feel to it. You can go ahead and quantize this if you really want to, but honestly, I would probably just leave it like this for now unless I had like a really steady beat that I was trying to match. The MIDI menu is actually a lot different. It looks similar to the one in Reaper, but it is kind of more capable on the Ableton side. It's actually a little easier to deal with velocity. It's a little bit easier to deal with changing notes. So I'm gonna go through real quick and just, okay, I'm gonna right click here and then I'm gonna set, remember there was quantize, which we used was just the Q key in Reaper that I can do. In the MIDI editor here, it's a little different. So it's actually Control U. What you're seeing is this snaps to the left of where this quarter note would land, which really doesn't help us in this situation. So what we need to do is make the grid a little less dense like we did in Reaper. It's actually really easy to do in the Ableton MIDI editor. You just right click and it says fixed grid here. And you can see, 1 bar, half bar, quarter notes. So I'm gonna just click quarter notes. What that's gonna do is that's gonna take all those little subdivisions out and allow us to quantize more easily. So I'm just gonna hit Control U. I believe it's Command U on a Mac. And there you go. So now that is right on the fourth quarter note of the third bar. So I'll play that back again because it's a great song. Summer jam right there. So we got another MIDI track here. Let's grab something else. Let's do a piano. All right, we'll get that piano from Nils from Mr. Noir, I believe it's called. All right, to get that up, we're gonna have to load up Complete Control. I'm gonna just drag that onto that right there. Complete Control, and then I'm just gonna type in Noir. And I'm gonna get that basic pure there, give you a little preview before it starts. And here we are. We got this beautiful piano. Okay. All right, so let's go. All right, let's just play that. Let's just play those chords. Here we go. Same thing, metronome's up. Here we go. All right, so that's our 2 clips we got there. We can come down and double click this clip and we can set up our clip again. So it's set to 4 bars here. I'm gonna close out this beautiful interface and so we can get down to work. So yeah, that looks pretty much what I wanted. Let's play it back and take a listen. As you can hear, it loops over and over again. So if this clip is 4 bars for the DX7 and this clip is 4 bars for Complete Control, it's just gonna loop those 4 bars over and over and over. Now, if I wanted to make a clip that was 8 bars, then I could expand one of them and it would loop the DX7, the 4-bar DX7 clip, and then it would take the second grouping, which was 8 bars, and then play that entire thing. So one would loop and then another one would play. Here, I'll show you what I'm talking about. So I'm gonna delete that real quick and I'm gonna record again. Here we go. More piano. All right. All right, so I'm gonna hit stop there. Made a little mistake there. So the beauty of MIDI is you just delete that, done, gone, all right? So I'm gonna hit stop and press play. Cool. So it sounds a little weird just because there's this kind of abrupt stop happening on the DX7. It's not really the fault of the DX7. It's kind of the way I played it, but let's see if we can do anything with that. I'm gonna move this A little bit backward, back to the beginning of the 1. Yeah, so it seems like there's less of a gap there now. All right, so we got 2 instruments going on. So next I'm gonna show you a drum rack. Drum racks are pretty cool. I think there is an add-on for Reaper that allows you to add on drum rack functionality, kind of a third-party thing to Reaper, but by default it doesn't have that. So I'm just gonna show you what drum racks are in Ableton real quick. All right, so let's go grab a drum rack. So we're gonna go up here, here's drums, and there's a whole bunch of different kits that Ableton just comes with. So you can just grab one of these and throw it into the... All right, there we go. That is the 909 drum machine. So 909 was the successor to the 808. The 808 came out in the early 80s. The 909, I believe, came out in the mid to late 80s. And it was kind of the upgraded version. And it's the sound of the entire rave era. If you've ever listened to music in the early 90s, dance music in the early 90s, it's basically all 909. So anything by Moby, anything by, Lords of Acid or Ace of Base, all those kind of groups that all made that stuff. That was all their music was made with the 909. That was the primary drum machine in those days. The only tracks I have left here are audio tracks. Can't do anything with those because I want to make another MIDI track. So to use a drum rack, we gotta actually have another MIDI track. So to make another MIDI track, we're just gonna click on the complete control track here, and I'm just gonna hit Control-Shift-T. It's Command-Shift-T on a Mac. And it's going to make another MIDI track right here. And if you don't need these audio tracks, you can just blow them away and just delete them. You know, unclog your scene. You don't that's just a default thing. They give you 2 MIDIs, they give you 2 audios. You don't have to use them. You can just set it up however you like. All right, so I'm going to drag this into here, and you're going to see this little thing come up with all this grid of what looks like buttons, and I'm going to go through here and play some of these. So each one of these is assigned to a key on the keyboard. So I'm going to actually shift this octave with my keyboard here. So as you can see on the screen now, it's just going through each of these different drums. So I got kick drum, rim shot, snare drum. All right, so I'm just gonna lay down a real simple beat real quick. Same way as we laid it down with everything else. So this is a built-in virtual instrument. It's not a Native Instruments plugin. It's not an Arturia plugin. It is built into Ableton Live, and so it actually probably works faster and better than these other plugins, but there's limitations involved. Even though Ableton has a lot of great factory instruments, I still prefer to use third-party plugins for other stuff. Okay, so here we go. All right, so there you go. All right, so I'm gonna open up this right here. Don't hire me to do any drum tracks, all right? Let's go, and we're gonna just quantize the shit out of this. Again, we're gonna redo our grid settings. We're gonna go grid, and let's do 1/8 notes because there's probably a little finer detail than the last section. So now we're gonna hit Control U, Command U on a Mac, and that should get us back to where we need to be. I'm gonna turn the grid off now that we have a drum beat. We don't need it anymore. We have drum beat. All right, now in order to add something on top of here, we're gonna have to do an overdub. In order to do an overdub, we're gonna select this clip and we're gonna hit this circle right here. That's like 5 or 6 icons to the right of the transport controls at the top here. So here we go. I'm gonna add some hats. As you can see, they're labeled here so you can find out where your hats are. It looks like it's on that A sharp. Okay, yeah, we'll do the off beats. Here, let's do it. All right, so we hit this little circle up top here. Sounds good to me. Let's go in here, right click, quantize, just because we're doing this dance thing. All right, hit play. And as you can see, it just loops over and over. So now if I wanted to bring these things over into the range view and wanted to start arranging things, then what I would have to do is select each of these clips. I'm gonna hit Shift and select all of them. I'm gonna grab them and hold them, and so they're gonna turn to this kind of ghost version, so you can copy them to other clips at this point if you wanted to. But we wanna move over to the arrangement view. So I'm gonna hit the Tab key, and I'm gonna drop them right on the timeline here in the arrangement view. And look at that, we have each of these clips separated. So you can see this complete control. The piano, that noir piano that I used, has 8 bars. The drums and the DX7 only have 4 bars. So you can see these two are half the length of this one. So now to get over into arrangement view, we're gonna abandon our session view for now. I'm gonna go up here and hit this little orange button. And that's gonna make everything bright. And now we are kind of free to edit these clips in here. Say the DX7 is my lead line, right? You don't want to have the lead line coming in right on the first section. So I'll just start with the drums and the piano only. Let's take the drums, extend them out a little bit, and kind of get this going. So this is, see how easy this is? I'm just dragging these out. These are all looped patterns. So when you hit play, all right, so and then maybe by bar 5, I want to get that thing started. So I'm going to go play. And then you can see up here on your transport, the beat's going by. All right, so that's a really basic version of composing with virtual instruments inside of Ableton. Basically all these things in the left-hand column here, you're just gonna be able to drag and drop them right into your session view to start, edit your MIDI, then you can throw it over into arrangement view and then kind of, you know, get your structure going and figure out how your song is actually gonna progress. In the next section, we're gonna talk about a workflow that I use the most and might be very foreign compared to what you're looking at here, and doesn't have too much commonality between DAWs because it isn't a DAW. It's called a groove box, and so we're gonna get into that next.